Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to crack open a really fascinating study. It's all about aging, muscle loss, and a food that, well, a lot of us eat pretty much every day, eggs.
So can 3 eggs a day really stop muscle aging? I mean, it's a pretty compelling idea, right? Imagine a simple little change to your diet that could fight off one of the biggest challenges of getting older. But is it actually true? Well, a recent scientific study set out to find the answer.
Okay, so before we get into the experiment itself, let's talk about the promise of protein. We've got to understand the problem that scientists are even trying to solve here. You see, as we get older, our body composition starts to change, and yeah, not always for the better.
All right, a key villain in the story is something called IMAT. That stands for intramuscular adipose tissue. Just think of it like marbling on a steak. It's fat that actually gets inside and in between your muscles. And we're not talking about the fat under your skin here. This is fat that infiltrates the muscle tissue itself. It's a huge sign of aging, and it can really mess with how well your muscles work.
So, this got scientists thinking. We already know that high-protein diets are pretty good at helping with body composition and hanging on to muscle. So they had this big idea, this hope. What if a diet packed with protein, maybe using something super nutrient-dense like eggs, could be the secret weapon to fight back against that muscle fat in older adults?
And that brings us to the great egg experiment. To get to the bottom of this, researchers over at Purdue University designed a really specific, super-controlled experiment. Let's take a look at how they actually set this thing up.
Now, this chart might look a little complicated at first glance, but don't worry, it's really just showing how the researchers found the right people for the job. They started with a group of older adults who were overweight or had obesity, screened them carefully, and ended up with 2 main groups who were then put on very carefully managed diets for a full 12 weeks.
And here's the breakdown of the 2 groups. You had the high-protein group, who ate about 1.4 grams of protein for every kilogram of body weight. And get this, that included 3 whole eggs every single day. Then you had the normal protein group. They ate a more standard amount, about 0.8 grams per kilo, and they were told absolutely no eggs allowed.
So 12 weeks go by, everyone sticks to their diet. And then, it's time to crunch the numbers. And believe me, this is where the story gets really, really interesting, and not at all what they were expecting.
So what happened? Well, the main goal, it failed. Yeah, that big idea, that primary hypothesis, that loading up on protein and eggs would get rid of that nasty fat inside the muscle, that IMAT we were just talking about, it just didn't happen.
And you can see it right here in the data. When they looked at the change in muscle fat, there was no significant change in either group. The high-protein diet with all those eggs didn't do any better at reducing IMAT than the normal diet without eggs. It was basically a wash.
Okay, so that was one surprise. But wait, there's more. The surprises didn't stop there. When the researchers looked at other health markers, like cholesterol, they found another twist in the plot.
Check this out. The group eating 3 eggs a day, their bad LDL cholesterol didn't really budge, no significant change. But the group that ate 0 eggs, their LDL cholesterol actually went down. Now that is definitely not what you'd expect, right? So many people worry about eggs and cholesterol, but here, the no-egg diet was the one that showed the improvement.
So at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, so the high-protein egg diet was a total bust, right? Well, not so fast. There was a massive silver lining, a really crucial benefit that was kind of hiding just beneath the surface, and it all came out when they looked at the participants' weight loss.
So, take a look at this chart. It tracks weight change over the 12 weeks. Now, here's the thing. Both diets were actually designed for people to maintain their weight. But, as you can see, both groups ended up losing a little bit anyway, about 3% of their body weight on average. It's a modest amount, but it turned out to be super important.
But here's the million-dollar question. Where did that weight actually come from? Because when you lose weight, you can lose fat, or you can lose precious hard-earned muscle. So what kind of weight did these 2 groups lose? This is where it all comes together.
And boom, this chart right here is the absolute key takeaway of the entire study. Look at that. The normal protein group, they lost more than 1 kilogram of lean muscle. That's a lot. But the high protein group, the ones eating the eggs, they lost almost nothing. They held on to their muscle mass. For healthy aging, that is a massive, massive win.
All right, so let's put this all together. What's your big takeaway from this whole egg experiment?
Okay, so here's the deal. The story isn't a simple yes or no. Did adding eggs and protein get rid of that fat inside the muscle? Nope. Did the no-egg diet actually lower LDL cholesterol? Yep, it did. But
And this is a huge but. That high-protein egg diet was a rock star at one specific thing, protecting muscle mass during weight loss. And that is absolutely critical.
You know, the study's authors really summed it up perfectly. Their conclusion was crystal clear. For older adults with overweight or obesity who are losing a bit of weight, a higher protein diet can be the key to maintaining their lean muscle mass. Basically, it helps make sure you're losing fat, not the good stuff. And things like whole eggs, they're a really practical way to make that happen.
So ultimately, what this research really hammers home is that there's no single best diet for everyone. It all comes down to your health goal. What are you trying to achieve? If your main goal is to hold on to your muscle while you manage your weight, well, this study suggests that a higher protein diet could be your best friend, which really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. What's your health goal?